We are live. What is up, swimmers and swammers? This is the SwimSwam breakdown live. We're doing it live today because we want to talk about the 2024 U.S. Olympic trials that just wrapped in Indianapolis. I'm Coleman Hodges. I am joined by David Clossey, aka the Swim Scribe, and NCAA champion and Dirty Double King, Brendan Burns. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Coleman. Sorry. Yeah, everything's great. Had a lot of fun last Friday. Looking forward to some more today.
I'm doing fantastic. Still digesting all of the results from Olympic trials and still kind of coming down from that. It still feels weird not getting ready to start watching the meet. Like it's, even yesterday morning, like, what do you mean there's no prelim session? And yeah, I think it'll be a fun time to dig into some results and maybe help me personally digest everything, because 9-day meet, you can kind of forget a lot of key details.
And just to start at the top, for anyone who's listening to this internationally, either live or after the fact, we are solely talking about the U.S. Olympic trials. I know this past week we saw a ton of fast swimming. There was the European Championships, the Setticoli meet in Rome. There was another meet that I'm forgetting as well. European, like there was a ton of really fast swimming, specifically in Europe, but around the world. And we're not going to talk about any of it right now because we are just digesting the U.S. Olympic trials that happened in Indianapolis. So just to get that out of the way, so commenters or viewers aren't too upset with us. But we wanted to do this live. We thought that would be a cool twist. And we're going to dive in. So first of all, we're not going to talk about every single swim, obviously, but we are going to go round table style, and we're going to go best swim, worst swim, favorite swim. So for best swim, just the swim that overall impressed you the most at these trials. I'll start with each category. For my best swim, it was Gretchen Walsh's 100 fly, and not even because she smashed a Sarah Sjostrom world record, but it was the narrative for me. It was just, but going into this meet, I was high on Gretchen. I thought she was going to have a long course breakout meet. And I think in this event specifically, she absolutely did. She broke a world record and showed everyone that she can get it done in the long pool as well. So for me, that was so gratifying, because there have been so many commenters saying she is just a bathtub swimmer. And so I think we can put that narrative to rest finally. David, I'm going to throw it to you next. Best swim of the meet for you.
I got to go with another former bathtub specialist that had previously had that kind of similar narrative of proving that can get it done in the big pool, is Kate Douglas in the 200 IM, because I was so stoked seeing 2:06 when she touched the wall, breaking 2:07. She was so close in Doha, and I think that was probably something that was on her list to get taken care of, and it was really awesome to see that happen in those trials. And also just that race was so incredible to watch, how her and Walsh were out pretty quick, and then on the breaststroke leg they just ran away from everyone else. They were both 36 mids, and no one else broke 38 in that field, which was, and it makes sense when you watching the race where they put in a lot of distance, and then Douglas just hammers that final 50, gets a little bit of distance on Walsh. And it's also cool confirming Walsh on that Olympic team in that same race as well, because then you got both the Walshes.
Yeah, no, agreed. That was a great swim. And I mean, it's crazy to me how much further ahead those two are in the women's 200 IM than the rest of the field. But they seriously got the job done. I think it helped Walsh's case, certainly, that Husk decided not to swim that. But yeah, they dominated. Brendan, swim of the meet for you.
Yeah, mine is definitely a little bit of a layup answer, but it's begging to be talked about. Regan's world record in the 100 backstroke, I think, really impressed me the most. Just for a few reasons, other than it obviously being a world record. I know similar. We talked about narratives going into each of the swims we've mentioned so far, and there were a lot of narratives for this one, and they're going to continue to go into the Olympics with Regan going toe to toe with Kaylee McEwen of Australia, and McEwen has gotten the best of Regan a few times now, and some people are under the impression that Regan just kind of fell off or didn't have it anymore, and then she just comes right back and smashes that world record. And kind of honestly, I think when you look at the splits, she's you should focus on swimming your own race, but I think that the way she split the 100 backstroke really sent a message to Kaylee saying, I can play your game too, and we're going to have an all-out brawl in Paris, and I can't wait to watch that.
That about the splits is such a good point, because when I was watching on the broadcast and I saw with about 25 meters to go where the world record line was, I go, oh, she's going to be just behind it at the end. Like, it's going to go by her. It's going off of McEwen's, pace, and she charges at the end. And it didn't happen. And I believe McEwen's world record split on the second 50 was only 1/100th faster than Regan Smith's closing 50, which, like you're saying, is
That's correct.
Either it's an adjustment of strategy for, that's just what works better for, or, maybe a hint of a sprinkle of mind games in there with, I can play your game too.
Exactly. And I could be wrong on this. Was McEwen and or Smith's second 50 was second fastest in history, or fastest in history? Something up there. Did I see that somewhere?
It sounds right. I mean, so like David just said, McEwen was 29:18 when she set her world record of 57:33, and then Regan was 29:19, so just 1/100th slower when she went 57:13. So right. Yeah, I mean, I assume those are the two fastest back end 50s in history.
I don't know who would have been faster.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, right, because they're the only ones that have been that fast. They're only, like, I think every other woman who's been 57 hasn't been faster than 57.7 or 8, I think.
Only a few. And they've all been in the last 4 or 5 years. I remember I've been lucky to see 4 world records in person, and 2 of them have been the women's 100 backstroke. The first one was Kathleen Baker, 58 flat in Irvine in 2018, and it's just insane to we're throwing out 57s like it might not even medal. So
right.
pretty crazy to see how far that event specifically has come in the last 5 or so years.
No kidding. What are the? I'm curious. What are the other world records you've seen in person?
So it was Gretchen and Regan from trials.
Okay, so that's 3.
And then I saw Hunter Armstrong's 50 backstroke, and then Kathleen Baker.
Oh yeah, at the 22 U.S. trials.
Yeah. In Greensboro.
That was a crazy story. Yeah, I don't think anyone
totally. I don't know if anyone expected that, but that was probably the loudest. I've been to Greensboro a million times for a million different meets. That was probably the loudest I ever heard Greensboro get for that one.
Mm-hmm. You're from Philadelphia or thereabouts. Did you go to the GAC a lot for swim meets growing up?
All the time for YMCA nationals for the most part. So lots of great age group memories there.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. So those are our best swims. Like we were saying before we started this, all on the women's side. The women were just wholeheartely more impressive than the men this week, and we'll see. I'm wondering if that'll continue into Paris or what. I think on the live preview last night, someone asked me, like, who's winning the medal tables, and so I was trying to do a quick breakdown in my head of, like, okay, Australia's golds versus US golds, and, like, it seems like it's going to be pretty similar. And sorry, that's a different podcast.
That's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's just so exciting.
Coleman thinks in terms of podcast. This is a podcast. This is a podcast. Fair. That's a podcast.
It's so true. This is what SwimSwam has done to me. Okay, so worst swims, and what I don't mean like slowest swims in the meet. I mean narratively biggest bummers. Olympic trials is called the meet of tears. You're crying no matter what. Either you made the team and you're crying, or you didn't make the team and you're crying. And we certainly saw some people have some swims that were big bummers. For me, my biggest, there were a lot. Third place never feels good, right, for anyone, or seventh in the case of of the 100 or 200 freestyle. For me, that was my biggest bummer is Beta Nelson, who was seeded 6th in the 100 free final. It was such a cool narrative because she is a backstroke and IM legend from the NCAA. She had some good long course meets, and it looked like maybe the 100 fly was going to be one of her better events, maybe the 200 IM. But she kind of switched focuses because backstroke is so competitive long course internationally for the US women. And then like the 100 free kind of comes out of nowhere. She makes the top 8. She's 6th. She has a legitimate shot to make the Olympic team. And then she gets 8th after Erica Connolly and Katie Deloof tie for 6th and have this swim off. And not that I didn't want to see either of them make the team, but they had already both been Olympians. And so I thought it would have been so cool for Beta to get in there and make her first Olympic team. But that was a real heartbreak for me. But what do you guys got for me? David, let's go to you.
Yeah, I've got, so for those of you that tuned in to the Olympic trials preview podcast that we did before the meet, I was very high on Claire Weinstein, specifically in her 400 free, because I saw that she's making some really good progress in her in-season meets. Day 1 prelims, 28th with a pretty big time ad, and she was out. And I think the reason why I think it's so disappointing, right, is that she had this momentum going in. She started the race very strongly. She was out in a 1:59.32. That would have made the semifinal in the 200 free. And then the wheels just kind of fell off. She then goes to 32, 33, 35, 34 on the last 450s. So she must have been hurting. And that's just kind of adding insult to injury to you at that point. Not only do you have this mental, injury at that point that you need to overcome, this also trying to recover for your next swim is going to be a little more difficult on the physical side too, because when you're dying that much at the end of the race, you're hurting just unbelievably. And that's something that I think is so impressive, that she was able to bounce back in the 200 free and get second in the final, secure that individual spot. And I just think that is, it's that really massive disappointment at the beginning of the meet, and then to swing that back around and get an individual swim at the Olympic stage. And she had not a season best in the 800, but she had a 5th in both prelims and finals. So not as, it's not like she's only geared towards the shorter distances. I think it was just a case of one bad swim, which in prelims, or if you're, ever doing time finals of a distance race, is all it really takes.
How many times do you think someone has either made like 200, 800 final, missed the 400, or like 100 and 400 final, missed the 200? I feel like that was an anomaly that was really impressive and demonstrates just how talented Claire is.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that it's, just being able to have that range and be able to bounce back from an awesome like that. I wonder if it happens more in the 100, 200, 400, just because I feel like right in that, like those margins can get so narrow in that 200 free, especially because I feel like with so many people going for it for, relay potential and stuff.
I also wonder if the event lineup has something to, or the schedule has something to do with it. Like, 400 free. It's like, it was the first swim of the meet, and maybe she was just super nervous. I think a lot of people talk about like getting that first swim out of their system, and then they're like, good for the rest of the meet. So I wonder if it would be different if, if the 400 was at the end of the meet and the 800 is the first day or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Brendan, your bummer swim of the meet.
My bummer swim of the meet, someone I want to talk about, someone I've known for a really long time, His name is AJ Pouch. He had an incredible swim in prelims, another great swim in semis, and ultimately got third in the 200 breaststroke. Really, really gutted. I know he's really nice guy. Has been so close so many times. Also, I do want to give a shout out to Will Lacone, who just another agonizing close finish. You said this was the meat of tears, and that's definitely true for a lot of the athletes that I saw on deck, just getting so close. But with AJ, I know his stroke, I noticed, just really took off this year. I noticed how few strokes he was taking as compared to Josh next to him, whose tempo is just ridiculous. I think I counted it was somewhere in the range of every one of AJ's strokes, Josh was taking like over 2. Just really interesting to see how he's kind of refined that style of breaststroke that he has. But it was I don't know. I hope he continues to keep going, because I think he does have the talent to eventually get on that team, either the world's team next year or keep going to LA in 28. But I know we're the same age, and it's been a great journey knowing him in the sport. And I just hope that he's at peace with whatever he decides to do.
Yeah, there were so many narrative. Like, I wish 6 people could have made the team in that tuner breast final. Right? Like, there were so many.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, obviously you're only 2 guys are making it, and like you're pretty sure Matt Fallon's gonna make it. So it's like there's 1 spot left, and it's like Josh Matheny, who's like this up and coming guy, AJ Pouch, who had this breakout meet, Will Lacone, who's been 3rd at the last 2 trials in this event, Daniel Roy, who's on the comeback trail.
That was awesome to see.
Nick Fink, who's 30, Jake Foster, who's like putting off med school to try to make the Olympic team. It's like there's so many narratives in that field, and it's just like, and only 1 guy can get the 2nd spot.
Right.
Like the only swimmer from the final you named that you didn't name was Josh Bay. So he's probably got some reason that we want him on the team too.
The high schooler.
There you go.
And I didn't name him because he isn't. It's like, I think he's got at least 1 more trials under his belt.
You guys know where he's going off the top of your head?
Oh, is it Indiana?
He's coming to breaststroke you.
Of course,
that's how he's going to make the Olympic team.
That's right.
Seriously. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not worried about Josh Bay's future. It's like he'll be fine. I'm sure that was a great experience. Speaking to a couple of those moments, like AJ Pouch passed Josh Matheny on the 3rd 50 after Matheny was leading at the 100, but then got repassed by Josh Matheny on the last 50, which I was like kind of like mind blown by, because I don't feel like you see that very often. But then also is like, well, he trains with Lily King, like he learned from the best, I assume.
Yep. Breaststroke group. I wouldn't know anything about that, but they work hard.
You've watched them in the pool before, and you're like,
I have watched
crazy.
Them. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also, like, Will Lacone has not put up the numbers this season that I think he has in the past. So like, I was not thinking he would be close to making that team. But then he gets himself in the final. He's 7th at the 150, and then outsplits the entire field except for Matt Fallon. And like, it makes this huge charge, and I'm like, holy crap, is he gonna do it? Like, finally. And then it gets 4th, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Nice, super nice guy. Also, just you're gutted for him.
Yeah. Like, every time I see him on the Texas pool deck, gives me a handshake, says what's up, we catch up a little bit. Like, he's great. And so that I hope this time it's maybe seen as more of an accomplishment than just like a letdown. Like, I know obviously he wants to make that Olympic team, but like, getting top 4 at 3 straight Olympic trials, like, while a bummer, is also like, that's longevity. A really big accomplishment. Yeah. It's like, you're top 4 in the world or in the country over the 8 years. Like, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Even though not what you want to see at that meet. Okay. And then finally, just your favorite swim of the meet. It can be for any reason you want. My personal favorite swim of this entire meet was seeing Simone Manuel win the 50 freestyle. That was just such a cool moment. When she made the Olympic team by getting third or fourth in the 100 freestyle, she was emotional, and that was really cool to watch. But she also, in her press conference afterwards, like expressed like, this isn't, what I had wanted or worked towards. And I'm really excited that I was able to put myself on the team, but like, I want to swim an individual event. And so like for her to be seated 0.4 behind the top two seeds and then win that race was awesome. And then to hear afterwards, she was like, I just watched a bunch of videos of me winning races. And so I tried to channel that. It's like, that's awesome.
Have you seen the compilation of Simone beating the Campbell sisters for like 6 minutes straight or something?
I was just about to ask if you think she watched that. Super
duper swim nerd, swim Twitter. Everyone. I feel like a lot of people in that sphere have seen that video, and it's pretty funny just how many times she's been doubted, been not expected to win, and she just has divine intervention come her way, and she gets her hand on the wall. It's incredible. I'm so excited she made that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, it's like, I feel like that's what a lot of athletes do. Like they'll watch like inspirational videos, to hype themselves up. And like, it's so much more boss to be able to go and watch videos of yourself to hype yourself up. Like that was amazing to me. But
I think in 2019, Regan Smith said that the night before she broke the world record in the 200 back, she watched Misty Franklin's 200 back, which was the current world record at the time. But not as cool as it being yourself. Although maybe that's what she did before her world record at
right.
Right.
I hope so. But all right, David, bet your favorite swim of the meet.
For me, it's got to be Hunter Armstrong 100 back in the semifinal. After that hiccup off the start, that was just so insane to watch. Where pop up and he's a body length behind. He's the former world record holder in the 50 back. You're not expecting that. Like in the moment, you don't see anything. Because it wasn't as crazy obvious that there's an issue at the start. Like in 2019 Worlds when the wedges were just not working and people were just falling in the water. It wasn't like that crazy, but he has the, he flips at 8th, a body length behind, hammers the underwater, is within the body length, but still isn't really, challenging for, and you're just like, I'm just watching because I really wanted him to, to make that team in that final, just going 4th and a fast time. That's all I want from you right now in this heat. And he just chewed his way through that lead and touches 2nd.
Yeah.
I don't know how he pulled that off. I think on the broadcast, Rowdy encapsulated my feelings better than anything when he just yelled, "How did he do that?" Because that was what I was saying too.
Yeah.
It was just so satisfying to watch. Just that slow and steady, just whittling down that lead. Here he goes. 2nd, of course. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy. That I think that was the most astounding swim I saw, because it was just like, I think I thought there was a chance he would get like 4th, because his on top of water speed is so strong comparatively to a lot of the other men's backstrokers that it's like, okay, I think he can probably run down some people, but like especially to see him do it in the last 10 meters, just like pretty much pass everyone. I was like, what?
He's very good at cutting it close too. I was totally expecting him to be in an outside lane, placed 8th overall, because I mean, there's been so many times where whether it's out of semis or out of prelims, he's like right at the cutoff at like a world championships, and everyone in the comment sections going like, "Hunter, stop scaring me."
Yeah, that we don't see as many start slips now, right? But it put me in mind of at 2014 U.S. Nationals, which was like the Pan Pac trial. Elizabeth Beisel slipped off the start in the 200 backstroke, and she was a really good swimmer, and she finished sixth in a 200, right? She had double the time to recover from that. And that was before wedges, which I don't understand how people did backstroke starts before wedges, honestly.
No clue.
Brendan, maybe you can speak to this.
So as a backstroker, I know there's another example of a slip, and it was at I believe the 2012 NCAA championships. I know Tom Shields won the 100 backstroke that year. I don't want to correctly find the athlete. I don't know. I think it was Nate Savoy from Penn State. I'm gonna throw that out there. He was 2 seconds back in the 100 backstroke final.
Yeah.
So I've seen that video of Tom winning a bunch of times. I grew up definitely watching Tom Shields. Huge influence on me. We swim basically the same events and things like that. I remember seeing that slip, like, oh my God, even at that level, it's a challenge to, get a good start off sometimes. And I know this year at the Big Ten championships, year 5 of college swimming, I swam at Ohio State so many times on the finals of the 400 medley relay. I slipped, just went straight down, and I had to fight my way back. Didn't have the time that I wanted, but I just had to find a way, and that's what Hunter did. It was totally incredible what he did.
Yeah. Just to confirm, I'm looking at results now. It was Nate Savoy.
Okay.
He was a freshman at Penn State that year. He was 11-9. By 25s, he was 11-9, 11-6, 12-5, 12-5.
Yeah, just terrible luck. Yeah,
48-6 was his final time. So
I think that was one of the things about Hunter Swim that I think really stood out, was being able to not panic and know what he had to do and execute on it in, like you're saying, only 100 meters. There's if you waste 5 seconds out of water going, oh crap, like, am I going to get a reswim? Was that a malfunction? Did I slip? Like however many, it must be a million miles a minute in your head, but just knowing, all right. I love what he said in the post-race interview, which was, well, it's not always my strength anyway, so I may as well just pop up early and just start swimming over the water, like you're saying. Like, he's always so fast in that phase, and so just keeping that calm under pressure, keeping that poise was probably a really good example. I'm sure there's going to be many coaches around the country over the next couple of years when they have their age groupers freaking out backstroke starts going, hey, it's not an excuse. Look at this guy. Well, watch this video. Here's your homework.
That's right. And he definitely was very cool, calm, collected about it. But I promise you, as someone that's done that before, he was freaking out internally. There's no way. Nobody can. I don't care how good you are. He was definitely freaking out, but he that killer instinct, all that training that you do definitely showed.
Absolutely. And then Brendan, what was your favorite swim of the meet?
My favorite swim, I want to give a shout out to the youngster, Luke Whitlock, for closing on the American record holder and defending Olympic champion in the 800 freestyle. So much ink has been spilled on your website about the legacy, the current state of men's American distance swimming. And here we have this 17-year-old who goes up there in the 400 freestyle, top seed going into finals, ultimately doesn't make the team. But another relative youngster, Aaron Shackle, makes the team, wins the race in front of a home crowd. And I saw some statistic. I want to say he's the 5th or 6th teenager ever to make the 400 freestyle in the 120 plus year history of the event being at the Olympics. So I really like the direction that the 400, 800, 1500 is going in. Obviously, Bobby showed us, kind of redefined what was possible and what our expectations should be in Tokyo and over the last 3 years. But having another guy close really hard, not just, oh, okay, cool, you're finishing a race strongly, but kind of using what Fink has been able to do over the last couple of years against him has just been, I thought, was a really impressive swim.
And he also
the national age group record. Yeah.
Oh,
he crushed it. Totally. He shattered it by 3 seconds. Was that Larson Jensen, I think?
I think so. That wasn't even where I was going, actually. But yeah, it was.
Oh.
No, that's probably a better point. Was not in the same swim and not as maybe exciting against the American record holder, but he was really putting that pressure on David Johnson. That 1500 at the end just barely missed going by him, and that was an electric swim there. Johnson managed to hold him off, which also made his earning that Olympic berth seem that much more well earned and, exciting to watch was, he didn't just cruise by behind Fink, kind of that awkward position where it's like, yeah, you're way behind the leader, but you're way ahead of everyone else. He got a little fight for it in the end, which was really exciting to watch because I love watching some good distance battles.
Yeah, good for David, man. It was tough. I guess three misses and some events he could have made it in, but then last day of the meet, he totally has the swim of his life, and I think he's going to do really well in Paris.
Oh my God. I didn't watch last night's session, but Luke Whitlock came home on that mile in 27.7.
Wild.
The 5/100s faster than Bobby Fink and 1.5 seconds faster than David Johnston.
Wow.
So he made up all of that ground on the last. He was 2 seconds behind David when they flipped at the 1450, which is nuts. But yeah, Brendan, to your point, anytime you break a Larson Jensen record, that is the real deal. Because that guy was really fast and was really fast as a teenager too.
Yep. Him and Eric Vent trading off back in 25 years ago, big time records.
Seriously. Yeah, that was so that seeing the rise of Luke Whitlock this meet was really exciting, and it'll be cool to see both David and Luke on the team. Also, speaking of Bobby, I thought he was going to cruise that mile and just, go 14, 45, 48.
No.
Breaks the US Open record. Oh my God.
Are you kidding? No, he's different.
I clearly don't know Bobby. That was a mistake on my part, but so those were our highlight swims of the meet. If you want more highlight swims, go to SwimSwam. There were so many good moments, good narratives, good swims. And then also last night we saw the official Olympic teams get announced, and then we also saw the Olympic coaching roster get announced. Aside from just the head coaches, head women's coach Todd DeSorbo, head men's coach Anthony Nesty, we put out an article about midweek of potential options, and there were some interesting ones. I mean, Bob Bowman was sort of on the list, even though we knew Bowman's coaching on France's team, so we knew he wasn't going to be on staff. But some of the obvious choices that popped out: Ray Lewis, Dave Durden, Chris Plum, who's a club coach, and sometimes club coaches don't get picked, but he'd already put siblings on the team. Greg Meehan, Braden Holloway, Carol Capitani, Eddie Reese were ones that kind of popped out, and then the official roster for assistant coaches were Carol Capitani, Dave Durden, Braden Holloway, Chris Lindauer from Notre Dame, Greg Meehan, Chris Plum, and then for open water, you had Ron Aiken and Corey Chitwood. Shout out to Indiana. So David, I want to start with you. Just give me your general thoughts on this coaching staff, and how were there any surprises for you? And how do you feel about this staff heading into Paris?
I think it's a solid coaching staff. I think it's got a nice variety of, just kind of, it's not like it's too centralized in one area where it's like, oh, it's mostly swimmers from around, coaches with swimmers from around these schools and stuff like that. And I feel like when you're building out a coaching roster kind of at this level, right, after you have your head coaches for both the men's and women's, I think one of the better points to go for is kind of get a diversity of thought going to kind of help around with those, those two that are going to be leading the teams as the head coaches, and just to get as many different perspectives as you can as possible like that. And of course, it's always going to come down to this swimmer, this coach had this many swimmers, this coach had that many swimmers, and there's also the difficulty too, the fact that it's split up by 3 assistant coaches for the women's side, 3 assistant coaches for the men's side, and then you can sometimes get difficult when you're trying to count the number of swimmers that each coach has, because if they have, if they're coaching a combined program, that they have some from both gender on the team, that can kind of make that math a little more difficult. And just at a certain point, you got to make some difficult decisions, and it's not like with Olympic trials for the swimmers, where we have a really easy, objective way to make those decisions. I would love to make the coaches race for it. That maybe 2028 we should go for that one. I think the biggest surprise was probably Ray Lewis, just with the amount of very talented swimmers that he had in there. But otherwise, there wasn't anything that crazy jumped out to me like that. Doesn't seem right. This obviously would have been the easy switcheroo. It all seemed pretty solid to me.
Yeah. Brendan, same question.
Right. I don't think there was a Ron Aiken versus Peter Andrew level of debate like we had at last trials. So, I think the less
that is
the less controversy, the better, I think. I mean, obviously, I'm incredibly biased having swam for Ray for 5 years. I think, especially beforehand, he was like, well, I don't know, just kind of the direction USA Swimming is moving. I've already been on 2 consecutive staffs. I obviously think that he was deserving of a 3rd staff, and it was disappointing to see USA Swimming not take him. But so many phenomenal coaches that they chose, and they're really lucky to have a pool of coaches that we get to leave great coaches like Ray off the staff. That says something about the quality of the staff that they're bringing and the talent that we have in USA Swimming right now. So, obviously I'm really disappointed that Ray didn't get chosen, but something tells me he'll sneak on deck in Paris with some country or some federation some way. He'll be there to make sure that our Hoosiers and then Team USA are taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I that is an odd one to me, just because. Let's see: Lily King, Anna Poplawski, Blake Peroni, Josh Matheny.
Throw Matt King in there.
Matt King, who's a future Hoosier. Luke Whitlock, who's from the state of Indiana.
Right.
Even doesn't train at Indiana,
right.
But it's like there's a lot of Hoosiers on the team, so that one is odd. But like you said, he's been on 2 consecutive teams, and my guess would be that USA Swimming wants, just to give some other coaches a chance, and maybe some other aspects in their staff.
Right.
Yeah, I think you want different perspectives. I think you want it's not as much as maybe people think it should be. I think you have to remember that when you're picking the staff, it's not about so-and-so got X number of athletes on the team always. It's also about how are these coaches going to handle certain situations and what they can bring to the table as a coach, not just can they coach their athletes.
A lot of it I know is also medal potential.
Yeah. And athletes' medal potential as well, which again, I don't think that helps the not choosing Ray Lewis argument, because I think they have some pretty good medal potential. But,
right. But you know what? We got to celebrate the positives. Corey Chitwood, first Olympic staff, everyone was so thrilled that USA Swimming chose him. Just the hard work that he's put in for our team and for Mariah in the open water world has been awesome to see him get with that. And he's married to Beth Botsford, and now he can kind of call himself an Olympian. So, he can say his kids can say that both of his parents are Olympians. So, bless you. It was great to see Corey get picked. We were all really thrilled for him.
That's super cool. He's deserving of that. And it'll be exciting to see how the open water athletes do as well. But I'm just there. I do want to say that there were some comments of Greg Meehan getting picked on staff. There were some comments about Carol Capitani getting picked for the staff. Each athlete only had 1 swimmer qualify, and they both have a ton of international coaching experience. I don't know what the process is of how they pick coaches, but if I were a parent or a teammate, I would trust Greg and Carol with my athletes, having shared deck time with them, having had conversations with them. They know what they're doing and they know how to work with athletes. And I think that's what Team USA is looking for, as do all of these coaches. Obviously, they put people on the Olympic team. And so I like the staff. I'm not worried about it. I think they're going to kick butt in Paris. And on that note, let's end this podcast with some good old-fashioned Sink or Swim's Paris Preview Edition. And obviously, we're going to do a lot of Paris previews in the lead up to these Olympic Games. But just hot off of trials, let's talk about some stars that we saw shine in Indianapolis and what we think they're going to do in Paris. So first off, Regan Smith, she breaks the world record in the 100 backstroke. Does she finally win gold in Paris in the 100 backstroke? David, sink or swim?
I have to swim it purely because of too many conflicting biases, right? Not conflicting. They're all pointed in the same direction, which is to swim it. One, I'm currently sitting in America, so, that's going to point it towards the American swimmer. Two, I'm also currently sitting in Minnesota, which is going to point me even further to Regan Smith from Minnesota. Got to see her swim when she was an age grouper at various, club meets and stuff like that. So I've always been a huge Regan Smith fan. And three, recency bias. She just went a world record in this event and went faster than McEwen went at the Australian trials. So that's got to swing the pendulum in her favor on all three counts for me, with varying levels of objectivity.
All right, Brendan.
So I just checked. If I had to ask you, in terms of gambling, who do you think has the better odds in the 100 backstroke, McEwen or Smith going in?
Like Vegas odds?
Vegas odds.
I would guess Regan Smith.
David?
Yeah, I would guess Regan Smith too.
What if I told you they're tied at plus 120 each?
Oh my God.
Coin flip.
I mean,
that's flip.
Like, honestly, that's kind of what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
It is.
It might come down to the touch.
It's going to come down to the touch. I put out a Twitter poll recently of the most exciting women's event. It was 100 backstroke, 200 IM, or 400 freestyle. Ultimately, the 200 IM won. But honestly, I think this is going to be the most exciting event in Paris, and I have to take Regan. I'm biased. I'm an American, but you know what? If I end up getting proven wrong, then it's not exactly a shocking revelation that Kaylee wins her second straight Olympic title. So no, I don't think anyone would be surprised by that. But I'm going with Regan. I think it's her year. I think it's her time.
Brendan, what's your Twitter handle so people can follow you?
@_Brendan Burns.
@_Brendan Burns. Go follow him on Twitter.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
He's putting out good content, people. Come on. I mean, I gotta swim. If there's ever a time to swim Regan Smith against Kaylee McEwen and be able to justify it to all our obnoxious Australian commenters, it's gotta be now.
Right.
They'd be so mad when they wake up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. She just broke the world record, and I think Regan is in a much better place mentally than she was in Tokyo. And I'm not saying that would have changed the results for Kaylee or Regan in Tokyo, but Regan looks really good. Honest, we're not even talking about this, but I think Kaylee is going to win the 200 backstroke. But in the 100, I think it's going to be really close, but I'm swimming with Regan, She just broke a world record. She's on a hot streak. It's the first event of the meet for both Kaylee and Regan. And so I think they're going to be fresh, and I think that's gonna help Regan win. That's it.
And it was not the first event
Regan.
when she set her world record, because she had 3 rounds of 100 fly first.
Yeah.
Right.
So honestly, maybe she should just do some swims in the warm-up pool every day.
Stingers.
Yeah.
Stingers. She should do a few more stingers than normal, maybe.
Right. Just stingers every day, which, if you don't know, stinger is a taper term, meaning usually it's a 50 fast in your warm up to just get your juices flowing.
Get suited up 50 fast about 2 or 3 days before you race. Yeah.
That's the definition of a stinger if you're not aware. So Regan, get on those stingers is our professional opinion. Okay. Next up, sink or swim. Caeleb Dressel, who won the 100 fly at U.S. Olympic trials, made his third Olympic team, 50.1. I think he's third in the world rankings right now after that swim.
Yes.
Sink or swim, Caeleb Dressel defends his Olympic gold medal and the event that he has the world record in Paris. David?
I am, because so right now sitting atop the world rankings, Josh Liendo with his very fast swim from Canadian trials, flirting with that 50-point barrier. And then
Dressel's training partner.
Yes. And then Noe Ponti is in second. And for me, I'm thinking that, no offense to Noe Ponti, I think the race for gold is Dressel and Liendo, at least in these world rankings. Milok is kind of a strong contender, but a question mark to disrupt that party. But
is his best 50.7 this season or 50.5?
50, I want to say 0.7.
Okay.
Which has been, he went, because 50.9 at Hungarian Nationals, then dropped that. So I think he did a 50.8 and a 50.9 or 50.7 at the two stops of the Mare Nostrum he swam in. And I'm going to lean towards swimming Dressel winning gold because he has shown a very strong pattern of being able to drop from the trials meet to the big meet. Whereas Liendo stays fairly flat. He has a lower kind of historical drop. He normally is like up or down about a tenth and a half or so, compared to Dressel normally have some pretty good drops. And he looked really good in that 100 fly. And he showed that he came ready to race. And I think he's going to be ready to race again in Paris.
Brendan?
So I have a few things I think going for Dressel that I would make me say I'm going to go with Dressel. The first thing, I think dad strength is real. So I think him having his kid this year, we saw it with Grievers. I've seen it with Cody Miller. I've seen it with a bunch of USA swimming athletes where they have their first child and in Phelps, right? Exactly. Totally forgot about that. They have their first child, amazing family moment. And then it does something for, I think, your competitive spirit that you really feel like, not that it's more pressure, it might be more pressure, but you feel just more, I don't know, you feel more in tune with the way that you're racing, things like that, which I don't know. I am not a father, so I can't elaborate from personal experience, but what I've noticed with these older USA swimming guys is having a kid usually leads to some pretty awesome results. And then I think another one that's a little bit outside the box, the narrative between Liendo and Dressel is a little bit like student and teacher, where Dressel is obviously a lot older than him, and Liendo is the up and coming guy. But I think in the men's 100 fly, we've already kind of seen that recently in 2016, where Phelps, Leclos, and Laszlo Chet tied for silver in schooling, took the gold medal. And so I think that's a little bit too recent to have a repeat of that narrative again in Paris. So I think Dressel is going to get that gold medal.
I mean, those are all great points. And
that's what I'm telling myself. That's not real analysis. That's me just kind of like gaslighting myself into thinking that he's going to win. But we'll see what happens.
I mean, I think it's fair. I think the 100 fly is right now Dressel's best shot at a gold medal, even though that event has gotten so freaking competitive.
50.8 what it used to be.
Dude, serious. I mean, we've seen at least like 10 50 points this in season, right? I mean, just since World Championships, it's just gotten out of control, to be honest. But no 49s, which is really interesting.
Not yet.
Liendo is 50.0. So I think Dressel knows how to go 49. He's done it before. He's the world record holder. And I think the main thing for me, we've seen him get faster from trials to the Olympics. The U.S. just traditionally does a really good job of that. He said in one of his press conferences, like, I may never go a best time, but I'm trying my hardest and I'm really good at racing. And so, Dressel, like we kind of, I think we see him and we're just like, oh my God, he's so fast. Like, he's so good. He's so talented. But it's like, he is also uber competitive, right? And knows how to race, knows how to get his hand on the wall. And so I'm going to swim it. I think Dressel gets at least that one gold in the 100 fly in Paris. Next up, Kate Douglas broke the championship record in the 200 breaststroke at U.S. trials. She was 2:19.46. I'm sorry. Yes, 46. She had broken it. She broke it twice, actually, once in prelims and once in the final. But she is still nearly 2 seconds off of the world record held by Evgenia Chikhanova of Russia, which is 2:17.55. Sink or swim, Kate Douglas breaks the 200 breast world record in Paris.
I forgot how fast that world record is.
So
Me
crazy.
too.
Yeah, like we thought. Oh my God, Tatiana's record of 18.9 was like, let's move it. And yeah, Chikhanova really took it to another level. David, sink or swim? Breast world record for Katie.
I just think almost 2 second drop is a lot to ask in an Olympic final. So I'm going to sink it. I hope I'm wrong. That would be phenomenal to see a world record of that speed. Like we're saying, that's a fast world record, and to go faster than that would be fun to see. But that, I think she has a very, very, very strong chance to break her American record, to go a best time in that event. But to blow the doors off your personal best like that takes some doing. So I'm going to sink it.
Yeah. Brendan?
I'm going to sink the world record. I think it's just, obviously 2 seconds out is a little ridiculous. Of course, that'd be amazing if it happened. I think number 2 performer all time, and honestly, Olympic gold medal is in the cards for Kate Douglas in the 200 breast. So no world record, but I think 2:18 might be a lock.
Yes, I like you guys' analysis. I threw this one just as a, maybe Ken should do it, and I thought someone might bite. You guys are true professionals. I'm with you. I gotta sink this one. A 2 second drop would be ridiculous. However, if someone's gonna do it, it's Kate Douglas, because we've seen her do things short course that just completely shattered our minds. 1:48.2, 200 IM. Are you kidding me? That swim is still engraved in my head as like one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a pool. And so, like, I still think we haven't seen what Kate is capable of in long course. I think she's a gold medal favorite at this point. I think she can absolutely go 2:18, but it's like, but she might even go even faster, because I think she, by the end of her NCAA career, she was locked into short course and like really blew the doors off it. And I think she's still getting there long course. And so we'll see what happens. But I am going to use logic on this one and say sink. 2 second drop is a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Last but not least on sink or swim. Katie Ledecky currently owns 10 Olympic medals. A lot of them are gold. 7 are gold. If she wins 3 more medals, she will have the most Olympic medals of any swimmer, number 2 behind Michael Phelps, who has 28, and no one's ever going to win that many ever. But there are a ton of swimmers who have 12. Ryan Lochte, Natalie Coughlin, Jenny Thompson, Dara Torres. If I'm missing anyone, let me know in the comments. But a lot of swimmers have 12. No one's ever gotten 13 besides Phelps. Sink or swim, Katie Ledecky wins 3 more medals at this meet and becomes number 2 all time in Olympic medals for swimming. David?
I gotta swim it because I think it's I think it's insanely unlikely that she doesn't win 3, because that would require, because she's got 4 chances with 3 individuals and a relay. So the only scenario I see potentially playing out, short of her falling down the stairs on the way out of the hotel one day or something, and even then, like, that's not really a guarantee, has a real bad swim in the 400 and has, Titmus McIntosh Fairweather ahead of her. Seems unlikely. And then in addition to, would also need some, either for the 8 free relay to end up in 4th or worse, or someone to jump it. Those are both unlikely on their own. Happening together, that's just such a low probability for that to happen. It's barring complete disaster twice, gotta swim it.
Yeah. Brendan?
I mean, I really have not a lot to add on to that. It's an easy swim. David did a good job outlining it. 400, okay, maybe really bad swim. She gets 4th. I really doubt that. I think at least bronze, silver. And then the 8 free relay, Australia looking really tough in that gold medal position, but I really think the United States is in a good spot for silver. And hopefully they'll pull out the relay of a lifetime and upset those damn Aussies. But we'll see what happens. I think 1500, 800 locks for a medal, if not a gold medal, and then getting one more after that. Really don't think that is a tall task for Katie Ledecky, because I don't think there are many tall tasks for her at this point. So
fair enough. But guys, I gotta sink it, because Katie Ledecky's going to win 4 medals and end this Olympics with 14. Of
nice.
course,
you set that up. You baited us.
I totally set it up.
Yep.
Totally set it up. Yeah, she's going to end this Olympics as number 2 all time, barring complete disaster, because that's what Katie Ledecky does, and that's who she is. And I don't think there's much to talk about other than that. So thanks for sticking with us for a whole hour of U.S. Olympic trials breakdown and deep dives. Stay tuned to SwimSwam. We'll have many more previews and many more forms coming up over the next 3 weeks for these 2024 Paris Olympics. We're finally on the Olympics. There's no more meets. It's just the Olympics coming up, and that's an exciting time to be in. So stay tuned. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, David.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me
Absolutely.
too.